let me ask you this. When you look at this roster, did we grossly overestimate it? Did they grossly underperform? Can it be retooled, like we're talking about, into a contender? I kind of think it can be. I think it's kind of in between. I think we overvalued it a little bit, and I think they underperformed a little bit.
Yeah, I think we've seen some underperformance, and I think we overvalued some players. I think you're right. It's never as bad as it seems, right, or as good as you think you are. And I do think they can pivot and win. I mean, it's a team that won 11 games last year. Is plenty of talent. If you look at all levels of the defense, on the offensive side, you have your cornerstone pieces in place. This is about shuffling the deck. But they whiffed in key areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the offensive line. They wildly misinterpreted the injury timeline on their tackles, right? And they've changed conceptually what they do in the run game without changing the personnel to match it, which is like it's hard to understand why how they could miss that, right? Um, but all of those things I think are fixable in this 1 year where you're going to restructure Watson's contract. You will have some cap flexibility. It's not as dire as the national media would like you to believe financially. So, and you have a lot of draft capital. So, if you do well in those things, yes, you can pivot and be competitive next year. It's not going to be a walk in the park by any stretch, but it's certainly doable.
So, do you agree that I've said earlier in yesterday on the show as well? I think the error they made was trying to rebuild the offense around Watson. You move to an offense that Kevin Stefanski doesn't know how to correct what's going wrong with it, and I don't think Ken Dorsey's the answer. And I don't think he's a bad coach. I just don't think he's the right coach here.
Yeah, I mean, they put all of the eggs into that basket, and it's hard to blame them for that because coming off of the year prior when the last time we saw him play was his performance in the Ravens game where it looked like he was coming back, and then he had the shoulder injury, and um, you had to give it every chance to succeed at that point, right? So the reshuffling of the staff and everything done to fit. And Watson had a ton of agency in this too. He had a lot of say in what they were going to run
Yep.
every step of the way, and it failed miserably. So you have to pivot away from that, and back to whatever you think you need to be going forward. And I don't really care what that is as long as you have conviction about it and then match the roster to that. Right now it just seems like a scrambled mess of direction, right? Pick a direction and let's go in it. But I agree with you that Stefanski has had success doing what he knows how to do and knows how to fix. So that would make some sense.